Prince Harry had expected a bold conversation when he agreed to appear on The View, but he didn't anticipate a public showdown. The morning was already buzzing with media attention. The prince had been making rounds promoting his latest charity initiative tied to veterans' mental health, something close to his heart. Still, there was speculation about his strained relationship with the royal family, and The View was notorious for heated debates. Sitting across from the regular hosts was a special guest for the day, Megyn Kelly. From the start, there was an energy in the studio that felt tense. Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin greeted Harry warmly, asking about his latest campaign, Invictus Games, expansions, and his work with trauma survivors. Harry spoke sincerely, with a steady voice, detailing how purpose and service had given him, meaning post-royal life. It's about resilience, he said. Not just physical, but emotional and mental resilience. But that grace period didn't last long. As the applause settled, Megyn Kelly leaned forward, her expression cool and composed. "Prince Harry," she began, "I think many of us support the causes you champion: mental health, veterans, humanitarian work, but there's something we can't ignore. How do you reconcile advocating for privacy while continuously exposing your family's most personal issues in the public eye?" A visible flicker passed through Harry's eyes. "We never asked for complete privacy," he replied, maintaining composure. "We asked for control of our narrative of our lives. That's a very different thing. But you chose to leave royal duties. You wanted freedom." "Fine," Megyn said, voice rising slightly. "Yet you signed a Netflix deal, released a memoir, and appeared in interviews that heavily criticized your family. For someone distancing themselves from the spotlight, you seem to chase it just as much." There was a stir in the audience. Even Joy Behar raised her eyebrows. But Harry didn't back down. "Sharing my story isn't chasing fame," Harry countered. "It's breaking generational cycles. Silence helped no one. Silence killed my mother. I'm not letting that happen." Again, Megyn smirked, not blinking. "Isn't there a line, though? A difference between healing and exploiting?" "Exploiting," Harry repeated, his voice sharper now. "I buried my mother because of a media frenzy. I left the institution because history was repeating itself with my wife. We tried to handle it privately. Doors were closed, so we spoke. Out, we didn't create the circus. We walked away from it." The studio hushed. Whoopi tried to interject with a light joke, but the moment had shifted. Megyn leaned in further, sensing an opening. "You say you left for your family's safety," she said, "but you brought them into a different spotlight. Different headlines, different deals. Americans respect honesty, but many see what you're doing as a branded rebellion, not a noble cause. What do you say to them?" Harry's jaw tightened. "I say they don't know the full story. And they never will, unless someone speaks up. We've done what we felt necessary to protect our family and to use our platform for good." Then came the comment that would ignite the internet. "Or perhaps you just swapped one crown for another," Megyn said, "from monarchy to martyrdom. And you're wearing it just as proudly." Gasps echoed. Even the panel looked uncomfortable. Meghan McCain, no stranger to confrontations herself, glanced at Megyn as if to say that was too far. Harry's face turned red, but his voice remained calm. "With all due respect, Megyn, I don't think you understand what it means to live in fear for your family? To have every tabloid in the world dig into your life, your wife's, your children's, simply because of your name. I made choices to protect them. If those choices make people uncomfortable, that's fine. I didn't come here to make people comfortable. I came here to be honest." The crowd erupted in applause. Some stood, others stayed quiet, digesting the intensity of the moment. The producers glanced at each other off stage, stunned. This wasn't. In the pre-interview notes, Meghan Markle, watching from a screen backstage, reportedly looked concerned but nodded in approval at Harry's poise. Megyn, meanwhile, sat back, expression unreadable. "Honesty's a double-edged sword, Prince. Harry," she said, "let's see how sharp yours really is." And just like that, the show cut to commercial. But the tension didn't fade, it simmered, ready to explode in part 2. As the cameras returned from the commercial break, the atmosphere on set felt heavier, more electric. What had started as a routine segment had erupted into a dramatic clash that now had everyone on edge, from the live audience to the crew backstage, even the hosts themselves. The air was charged, and it was clear. This wasn't just a celebrity interview anymore. It had become a cultural battleground. Prince Harry sat upright in his chair, composed but clearly bracing for more. Megyn Kelly, by contrast, seemed entirely At school, confident and unbothered by the waves she had stirred, she knew what she had done. And she wasn't finished. Asterisk, let's talk about authenticity, Megyn said smoothly, flipping a note card on the table. You say you're using your voice for good, fine. But to many viewers, it feels more like a calculated brand. Your documentary, your memoir, your media appearances, it's been constant. Don't you think it comes off more self-serving than selfless? Asterisk, Harry let out a slow breath. I think if people actually listen, if they watch, if they read, without judgment, they'll see the message. The work, not the noise. The media creates the spectacle. I'm just trying to speak honestly about pain, mental health, and institutional failure. That's not branding. That's survival. Asterisk, Megyn's eyes narrowed slightly. But doesn't constantly speaking publicly about it become part of the spectacle? You talk about being silenced by the monarchy, but now you're louder than ever. Asterisk, Harry turned to her, eyes locked. Would you say that to a veteran talking about PTSD? Would you say that to a survivor of abuse writing a memoir? No! Then why say it to me? Asterisk, there was a pause. The audience applauded again, some louder this time, others murmuring. Asterisk, Megyn didn't flinch. Because you're a prince, born into one of the most powerful families in the world. You had resources most could only dream of. That makes you different. Asterisk, and that difference, Harry replied calmly, is exactly why I have to speak. People like me rarely break ranks, but when we do, it matters. It gives permission to others, even if they're not royal, to speak out to. Asterisk, the conversation had moved past surface-level jabs. Now it was philosophical, emotional, and no one knew where it would land next. Asterisk, then Megyn asked the question that made even the other panelists visibly recoil. Asterisk, would your mother be proud of how you've handled things, or heartbroken? Asterisk, a collective gasp rang through the studio. Sunny Hostin shook her head, visibly disturbed. Joy Behar muttered, "Oh, come on, ... double quotes." Even before Harry could speak, Whoopi Goldberg, ever the moderator, leaned in quickly. Megyn, let's not speak for Diana. That's a deeply personal place to go. But Harry raised a hand, signaling he would answer. He took a moment. My mother taught me compassion. She taught me to challenge broken systems. She taught me that dignity doesn't come from silence, it comes from standing up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable. So yes, I believe she'd be proud. Asterisk, then, he added, with a pointed look, and she'd probably be sitting where I am now, telling you the exact same thing. Asterisk, the audience applauded again, louder this time, clapping, not just for his words, but for his restraint. Asterisk, Megyn, perhaps realizing she had overreached, offered a small nod. Fair enough, she said. But the question still stands. What's next? Where does this end? More interviews? More books? Or will you finally step back and live the quiet life you said you wanted? Asterisk, Harry didn't hesitate. I'm not chasing noise, Megyn. I'm building something that lasts. Real charity work, real service, real change. The rest is just commentary. Asterisk, Whoopi finally spoke again, lightening the tension. All right, I think we've grilled the prince enough for one day, she chuckled. Let's give the guy some tea and a biscuit. Asterisk, the audience laughed, and even Harry managed to smile. But the clash was far from forgotten. Asterisk, when the show ended, social media exploded. Within minutes, clips from the interview went viral. TikTok was flooded with edits, some hailing Harry as a hero, others defending Megyn's boldness. On X, formerly Twitter, hashtags like hashtag Prince Harry Speaks, hashtag MEGYNV's Harry, and hashtag Diana would be proud trended worldwide. Asterisk, pundits chimed in. Conservative anchors praised Megyn for holding royalty accountable, while liberal commentators accused her of pushing tabloid-style cruelty into a serious conversation. Even major UK newspapers picked it up, with headlines like Harry confronts media machine on live TV and Kelly's royal smackdown sparks global debate. Asterisk, but perhaps the most powerful response came from a brief post shared by Harry and Megyn's foundation later that day. Asterisk, when truth is uncomfortable, it often means it needs to be heard. We stand by it. Asterisk, the war of words had ended for now, but the message and the fire behind it continued to burn long after the cameras stopped rolling. Asterisk,